My sister-in-law's name is saved in my phone as bridal emergency contact. That's how deep I was in their lives. That's how much I gave. I'm standing in my mother-in-law's kitchen on a Sunday afternoon, transferring her grocery list into a budgeting spreadsheet I built specifically for her, when her tablet lights up on the counter beside me. I'm not naughty. I never have been. But the notification banner is right there, in plain sight. And the group name stops my hand mid-type. The Real Family. I read it 3 times. The Real Family. Not Sunday dinner planning. Not mom's house updates. Not anything I'd been part of for the last 6 years. The Real Family. I set down my coffee. My mother-in-law is out back with my husband, showing him where she wants the new fence posts. I can hear them laughing through the window. I look at the tablet again. The preview shows my sister-in-law Claire's name, and the first few words of a message did Marcus tell her yet about the screen locks before I finish reading. I stand there in that kitchen for a long moment. The spreadsheet is still open on my laptop. Column D is labeled monthly discretionary. I built this for a woman whose name is apparently not in a group chat that includes my husband. And my name is Leah. I've been married to Marcus for 4 years. We've been together for 6. In that time, I have done the following things for his family. Without being asked more than once, I filed his mother's taxes for 3 consecutive years after his father passed, and she didn't know where to begin. I helped his younger brother Daniel get out of a predatory car loan by negotiating directly with the dealership. Because I used to work in consumer finance, I planned Claire's bridal shower venue, catering, invitation, the photo booth on a 2-week timeline when her original planner backed out. I sat with his mother in the ER the night she had the allergic reaction. Because Marcus was traveling for work and Claire said she couldn't get there until morning. I did all of this because I loved them. Because I thought that's what family does. I pick up my phone and text Marcus. Can you come inside for a sec? Need help with something? He comes in through the back door, brushing dirt off his jeans. And I watch his face when I tell him what I saw. I keep my voice very even. I tell him the group name, the preview, the timestamp. I tell him I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm asking him to be honest with me. He goes quiet in a way that answers the question before he opens his mouth. It's not what you think, he says. I've heard that sentence before. It has never once been true. It takes me a week to find out what it actually is. Marcus tells me the group is for family logistics, planning his mother's birthday, coordinating holiday schedules. Nothing serious. He says my name came up because they were trying to figure out a surprise for me. He says Claire typed that message because she was asking if Marcus had told me about the party. I want to believe him. I genuinely do. But I'm a woman who spent 4 years in consumer finance reading documents that were designed to obscure their own meaning. And I know when a story has gaps. The gap is this: his mother's birthday is in March. This is October. I don't say that. I just nod and say, okay. And then I do something I've never done before in this marriage. I start paying attention, not in a paranoid way. I don't go through his phone. I don't hire anyone or set traps. I just stop being as available. I stop offering help before it's asked for. I stop volunteering for things that weren't my responsibility to begin with. I keep the spreadsheet open on my laptop, but I stop updating it. And I wait. The first thing I notice is that his mother calls Marcus more. She'd always called me when she needed something practical, handled insurance questions, scheduling, anything involving paperwork. Now the calls go to him. And when I happen to be nearby, I notice he sounds slightly flustered. Like someone who's been handed a task they don't quite know how to do. Good, I think. Then I feel guilty for thinking it. The second thing I notice is that Claire starts being unusually warm to me, inviting me to things, sending me voice memos of her daughter's first attempts at saying full sentences. It's sweet, and it's deliberate, and it doesn't match the previous 6 years of polite distance she'd maintained with me. Claire had always been cordial, the kind of cordial that meant she'd hug me at Christmas and forget my coffee order the next day. I respond warmly. I keep showing up. But I am watching. The third thing is the moment everything clicks. Marcus's grandmother, his father's mother. Grandma Bette passes away in early November. She was 91. Sharp until the end. And she had made it very clear to anyone who would listen that she intended to leave her estate divided among her grandchildren. Marcus has 3 cousins on that side. He'd always expected an equal split. I learn, 3 days after the funeral, that the will is not an equal split. I learn this because I find the document. I was not snooping. I want to be clear about that because it matters to me. Even now, Marcus had asked me to scan and organize a folder of documents his mother had brought over estate paperwork. Insurance policies. Things that needed to be filed. I'm organized. It's one of the things everyone in his family has always appreciated about me. I have a filing system. I know where things go. The will was in the folder. I almost put it in the legal to review section without reading it. The way I'd done with dozens of documents before, but something made me stop. Maybe it was the group chat. Maybe it was the 3 weeks of noticing. Maybe it was just instinct. The estate is worth approximately $240. Ling ling ling. Property and savings. Grandma Bette had been careful and private with money her entire life. And almost no one knew the full amount. The will divides it as follows. Marcus's cousin Patrick receives 35%. His cousin Diane receives 35%. His cousin Ryan receives 20%. Marcus receives 10%. There is a handwritten addendum at the bottom. Signed and notarized. Dated 8 months ago. It reads, "The adjustment reflects circumstances communicated to me in confidence and is made of my own full volition." 8 months ago. I sit with that document for a long time. My hands are steady. My brain is running the numbers. 10% of $240. Nolla is 20 Ling ling ling. The original equal split between 4 grandchildren would have been $60. 000 each. Someone told Grandma Bette something 8 months ago that caused her to reduce Marcus's inheritance by $36. Ling ling ling. And I am almost certain I know who. I don't confront anyone immediately. I learned a long time ago that the first thing anger wants you to do is the thing you'll most regret. Instead, I call my friend Dana, who is an estate attorney, and I ask her a general question: can someone contest an addendum to a will based on undue influence? She tells me it depends on the evidence. She tells me what documentation would be useful. She is not charging me for this conversation. And I make a note to send her a very nice gift basket. Then I call my own mother, which I don't do often enough. I tell her what's happening. She listens without interrupting, which is the thing I love most about her. When I finish, she says, "What do you need right now? Not what are you going to do or what did Marcus say? Just what do you need? I need to understand it fully before I move." I tell her, "Then understand it fully." She says, "You've always been good at that." She's right. I am good at that. I spent 6 years being good at understanding things for other people. Now I'm going to be good at it for myself. The conversation with Marcus happens on a Tuesday night. I've made dinner his mother's pasta recipe, which I know by heart. Because of course I do. I've poured wine. I am calm in the way that a person is calm when they've already processed the emotional part and arrived somewhere on the other side. I put the will on the table. He looks at it. Something moves through his face that I can't entirely read: guilt. Or recognition. Or maybe just the awareness that this conversation has arrived, and there's no more delaying it. "How long have you known?" I ask. He says he found out at the reading, that he was surprised, that he didn't fully understand it. "Did you tell your family what Grandma Bette's estate was actually worth?" I ask. He's quiet. "Marcus, did you?" He says he may have mentioned it. To his mother. After one of the family dinners, a while back, he says it came up naturally. That they were talking about Grandma Bette's health and what might happen when she passed. And did your mother or Claire say anything to Grandma Bette after that conversation, Leah? Did they? He doesn't answer. Which is an answer. I pick up the will and I look at it one more time. 8 months ago. Right around the time those family dinners got a little more frequent. Right around the time Claire started asking how Marcus and I were really doing. Right around the time his mother first mentioned, very casually, that Marcus seemed stressed and she worried about the future. They built a case. They built it slowly and quietly, and they presented it to a 91-year-old woman who trusted her family. I fold the will and I put it in my bag. I'm going to stay at my mom's for a few days. Isai. I need to think. Marcus starts to say something. I hold up one hand. Gently. I'm not making any decisions tonight. I just need space to think. That's all I'm asking for right now. He nods. His face looks like someone who knows they dropped something irreplaceable and is watching it fall. At my mother's house. I give myself exactly 2 days to feel everything. Day 1. I cry. I eat my mother's soup and I watch bad television and I let myself be sad not just about the will or the money, but about the image I'd carried of that family. The Sunday dinners I'd genuinely looked forward to. The way his mother used to touch my hand when she said, "Thank you." The birthday card Claire sent me 2 years ago that said, "So glad you're one of us." One of us. Day 2. I make a list. Not of grievances. I'm not interested in cataloging pain. I make a list of what I actually know. What I can prove. What my options are. Dana has already told me the addendum could potentially be challenged if there's evidence of influence. The evidence is circumstantial, but it exists the timing. The conversations Marcus admitted to. The pattern of behavior leading up to the change. I also make a different list. The list of everything I've done for that family over 6 years. I'm not self-righteous about it. I don't add up the hours to feel like a martyr. I write it down because I want to see it clearly. Without the softening lens of love. When I see it clearly, what I notice is that not one single thing on the list was ever reciprocated in kind. Not one. Every act of help flowed in one direction. I had believed that was generosity. Now I understand it was being mistaken for inexhaustible. On day 3, I drive back home and I have the longer conversation with Marcus. This one takes several hours. He is honest in a way he hasn't been in a while, maybe in years, and I give him credit for that. He tells me that his mother had implied to Grandma Bette that Marcus was financially irresponsible and that his wife controlled everything. He says he thinks Claire added that I was isolating him from the family. He says he didn't know the extent of it until after the will was read and he saw the addendum. Did you tell them that wasn't true, I ask. When they were saying those things, he says he wasn't there for most of it. That he only found out later. But you found out before the funeral. And you didn't tell me. He nods. I sit with that for a moment. I need you to understand something. Isai. I'm not leaving you over money. I want to be very clear about that. But I am telling you that what happened, the group chat, the conversations with Grandma Bette, all of it, none of that could have happened if you had been my partner in the way I needed you to be. They had access to spaces I wasn't in. And you knew about some of it. And you chose not to tell me. He says he's sorry. He says it several times and I believe him. I know. I tell him. But sorry doesn't restructure what happened. It just tells me where you are right now. I contact Dana formally the following week. She reviews the documentation and tells me there are grounds to at least open a conversation with the estate about the addendum. It won't be simple. It may not fully succeed. But the question can be asked. I also reach out to Claire. I know this surprises people when I tell them. But I had a reason. I wanted to hear it from her in her own words. I wanted to know what she actually said to Grandma Bette. And more than that, I wanted her to have to say it to my face or close enough. We meet at a coffee shop near her house. She's nervous. I can see it in the way she grips her cup. I don't perform anger. I don't need to. I just tell her. Quietly. What I know. I tell her about the addendum. I tell her what Marcus shared about the conversations. I tell her what I'm considering. Legally. She starts to explain. The explanation involves a lot of phrases like, we were just worried and it wasn't meant to hurt you and you have to understand how it looked from the outside. She says they thought Marcus was too dependent on me and that it wasn't healthy. She says Grandma Bette was old-fashioned and might have misunderstood things. I let her talk. When she finishes, I ask one question. Claire, you reached out to me about launching your photography studio last month. You asked if I could help you build a business plan. She blinks. Yeah. After your family spent the better part of a year convincing a dying woman that my involvement in this family was a liability, you wanted my help building a business. She doesn't say anything. I'm not going to help you with that. Isai. I also won't be available the way I've been available. The taxes. The logistics. The planning, I won't be doing any of that anymore. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm finally understanding where the boundary should have been all along. I take a sip of my coffee. I genuinely hope your studio does well. Isai. I mean that. But you're going to have to build it yourself. The estate conversation is ongoing. Donna is handling it. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, it isn't. There are weeks when I want to drop the whole thing and just walk away clean. There are other weeks when I think about Grandma Bette signing that addendum, being told things about me that were never true. And I feel the full weight of it. My mother-in-law called me 3 weeks after the coffee shop meeting. She wanted to talk. She said she'd heard from Claire that I was upset, and she wanted to understand. Her voice was careful in a way it had never been with me before, the first time I'd ever heard her be uncertain around me. I told her I thought it would be good for us to talk. I also told her I was done processing her financial paperwork, that I hoped she'd be able to find someone to help going forward, and that I was happy to give her referrals. She was quiet for a moment. You're serious? She said. Yes. I said. I'm serious. There was another pause. And then she said something I didn't entirely expect. I think I owe you an apology. She didn't give it that day. We're still in the middle of that conversation. But she said it. And I wrote it down. Marcus and I are still together. I know that surprises some people too. It surprised me for a while. What I can tell you is that things are different now in ways that are hard to name quickly. He goes to his mother's house himself now. He handles the paperwork. He fields the calls. He's learning to do things I spent 6 years doing quietly in the background. And I watch him get better at them slowly. And sometimes I feel something like grief about it, not for me, but for all the years I absorbed that weight without either of us naming it. We're in therapy. It's uncomfortable and necessary, and occasionally we both sit there looking like we'd rather be anywhere else, which our therapist says is actually a good sign. I stopped measuring my worth by how useful I was to people. I stopped treating helpfulness as a form of belonging. That's not something that happens quickly, but I'm working on it. The thing about being the person everyone counts on is that it can feel like love for a very long time. People are grateful. They're warm. They tell you they don't know what they'd do without you. And it is a kind of connection. I don't want to dismiss what was real, but there's a difference between being loved and being used. Sometimes that difference only becomes visible when you stop making yourself so available that no one has to examine whether they'd choose you if you weren't so convenient. I didn't need the $36. Ling ling ling. I want to be clear about that. What I needed was to know that the people I'd poured myself into for 6 years would have done the same for me. And when I finally saw the answer to that question clearly, documented, dated and notarized, I understood that the real inheritance was the clarity itself. Some things are only worth knowing when you find them out the hard way. And now I know.